receipts tax indirect taxes, tax incidence, equals at person from whom Gov collects the tax. E.g. shopkeeper, tax impact, equals at person who finally bears the tax and can't pass its burden on further. E.g. consumer. In the indirect taxes, tax incidence and tax impact does not fall on the same person. E.g. customs duty on import and export, excise duty on manufacturing of goods, service tax on services, sales tax, value-added tax VAT, and goods and services tax GST. Indirect taxes fall under the ambit of FinMinet Department of Revenue, Central Board of Excise and Customs, CBEC, Budget 2018 renamed it as Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs, CBIC. (22.1) Indirect taxes, types, ad valorem tax, specific tax per unit, taxes based on the value of something. E.g., 35% customs duty on import of orange juice. So, if juice priced at 1,000 Indian rupees imported, then 350 Indian rupees as tax. (22) (1) Indirect taxes, types, ad valorem tax, specific tax per unit, taxes based on the value of something. E.g., 35% customs duty on import of orange juice. So, elastic, small black up arrow brings large revenue because everyone is affected. Although they are relatively less elastic than direct taxes. Poor cost benefit interpreting its microeconomics graph. Can black down arrow harmful consumption by imposing higher taxes on cigar, alcohol, soft drinks, and fast food. Regressive in nature, both poor and rich taxed equally for the same item, then poor people end up paying more portion of their income in indirect taxes. This tax is hidden in the price. Customers do not always feel the pinch of paying indirect tax, so it promotes less civic consciousness than direct taxes. Indirect taxes, black up arrow product becomes expensive demand, black down arrow, so uncertainty involved in how much will Gov actually earn. High level of corruption, evasion, cascading effect if input credit is not given, e.g. erstwhile sales tax system. (22.3) Concept, Berguvian tax. An externality is a positive or negative consequence of an economic activity experienced by unrelated third parties. E.g. cement company, related parties, laborers and consumers benefit, whereas unrelated third parties, local community, flora and fauna, are harmed by cement company's air pollution. English economist Arthur C. Pigou proposed taxing the companies that create such negative externalities, e.g. polluting industries, cigarettes, passive smoking, alcohol, social disharmony. We have high level of indirect taxes on petroleum, tobacco and alcoholic products. We had clean environment cess on 400 rupees per ton of coal, but abolished in GST. Sin tax. Similar concept imposing tax on immoral things like alcohol, tobacco. Difference between sin tax versus Berguvian tax equals that patentism, hair splittery not imp raised hand. 22.3.1 cess and surcharges on excise and customs cess surcharge description social welfare surcharge, SWS, on customs. Budget 2018 also introduced 10% SWS on customs duty on imported goods. Budget 2021 SWS will no longer be applicable on the gold and silver because additional burden of agriculture infrastructure and development cess, AIDC, on gold silver. So, if SWF also levied equals too much tax burden on people equals, which may encourage more smuggling and black money, so Gov exempted these goods from SWS, health cess on customs. Budget 2020 introduced 5% health cess on the customs duty plus surcharge on imported medical devices. This cess will be used for building Ayushman Bharat Scheme KE hospitals to treat PMJ 5 lakh health insurance war poor patients in aspirational districts equals backward districts identified by Niti Aayog. Agriculture infrastructure and development cess on customs and excise. Budget 2021 introduced this. This cess will be applicable on the excise duty on petrol, cess at 2.5 a litre, and diesel cess at 4 a litre. This cess will be applicable on customs duty on gold silver, alcoholic beverages, certain types of edible oils, certain fruits, certain pulses, cotton, urea fertilizer. Cess varies from 1.5 to 100% depending on item. To 2.3.2 fuel pump indirect tax fuel pump petrol and diesel price high because fuel pump petrol approx taxes in middle of 2021 fuel pump diesel A union tax basic excise 1.40 Indian rupees plus special additional excise 11 Indian rupees plus 18 Indian rupees road infrastructure cess plus 2.50 agriculture infrastructure and development cess AIDC basic excise 1.80 Indian rupees plus special additional excise 18 Indian rupees plus 18 Indian rupees road infra cess plus 4 AIDC. Total in India equals A plus B 135% taxes on base price, 116% taxes on base price. Elsewhere taxes on fuel, EU 45 to 60%, Canada 15 to 30%, USA 15%, if above fuels are replaced with highest GST slab, 28%, hardly 5 to 6 Indian rupees per litre each for union and state equals loss of over 4 lakh CR on petrol and diesel taxes in GST system compared to present excise VAT regime. So, cheap petrol diesel is not possible, unless union and state govs are willing to take deep cuts in their revenue. Corona equals direct tax collection black down pointing double triangle. So gov can't afford to reduce tax percent on fuel. 2.3.3 fuel pump indirect tax additional differential excise duty on unblended petrol gov targets 20% ethanol blending with petrol by 2025 to black down pointing double triangle GHG emission. Budget 2022 announced one more tax to force the oil refineries to accomplish this target in a timely fashion. Fuel ethanol blended petrol and blended petrol basic excise plus special additional excise plus road infrastructure cess plus agriculture infrastructure and development cess AIDC. Yes, these tax and cess applicable on both type of fuel. Additional differential excise duty announced in budget 2022 RS.0 a litre 2 rupees per litre. 2 Indian rupees. 2.3.4 fuel pump windfall tax on export of petrol or diesel or fuel. 2022 windfall tax is a nickname given to a tax when it is levied on an unforeseen or unexpectedly large profit. 2022 fuel prices increased sharply in global market. So when Indian refineries export petrol or diesel they will make a lot more profit compared to previous years. 2022 July, government imposed special additional excise duty SAED on export of petrol 6 Indian rupees per litre and diesel 1.2 a litre. Batch, PCB7, Mrunal's economy pill. FAQ, can windfall tax be imposed only on indirect taxes of petrol diesel? ANS, If government is imposing any direct or indirect tax because of some unforeseen profits to a party, then journalist may label as windfall tax. FAQ, then can't we say Bitcoin profit P capital gains tax is also windfall tax? ANS, journalists, a newspaper, a gov, a chief economic advisor, a nitty, etc., have not used this word yet. So I would not use it. 22.3.5 Fuel pump. GST on petrol, diesel, electricity. Niti Aayog 6-year roadmap. 2021 August. Niti Aayog proposed following formula: 28% GST on petrol and diesel. Plus compensation cess for states. This compensation will be given to states for a period of 6 years. 18% GST on electricity. Raised hand, however, this is a proposal stage. Separately, a case is going on at Kerala High Court. We'll update when if something big happens. Related topic: OPEC cartel, crude prices. ANS, ref, HDT pillar #3A, BOP. 22.3.6 Fuel pump petrol diesel, dynamic fuel pricing system, and oil bond repayment 1970s to 2002. Administered price mechanism, APM, wherein the government fixed the prices of petroleum fuels and paid subsidy to the oil marketing companies, OMC, for their losses by issuing oil bonds to them. 2002 to 2014, Gov gradually began decontrolling fuel prices, black down pointing double triangle its own subsidy burden. Present system equals dynamic fuel pricing system, wherein OMCs decide the prices of petrol and diesel on daily basis, based on the movement in international prices. Associated keyword formula methodology is trade parity price, TPP. Baseball raised hand, what is means, how it works. Equals poor cost benefit chasing that. Benefit of dynamic pricing. In theory, if the oil price is lowered in the international market, petrol diesel should become cheaper in India. But union and state gov keep black up pointing double triangle black up pointing double triangle taxes on it, so it remains expensive for common people. Corona crisis equals black down pointing double triangle transport black down pointing double triangle demand of crude oil prices fallen or remained moderate in 2020 to 21. But Corona crisis direct tax and GST collection black down pointing double triangle. Government required more to run the schemes. So, black up pointing double triangle excise and VAT. 2021 August. FM Sitaraman says we cannot reduce excise duty on petrol and diesel because we have to repay principal plus interest on the oil bonds issued by the previous UPAI government to subsidize fuel prices in 2012-13. 2021 November. First time in last 3 years, Modi Gov black down pointing double triangle cuts petrol excise duty down by 5 rupees per litre, diesel by 10 rupees per litre. Reason? 1. GST collection improved so excise could be black down arrow without hurting poverty welfare schemes. 2. UP election. 3. Farmers require diesel for irrigation pump sets in Rabi winter season. Batch, PCB7, Mrunal's economy pillar #. 22.4 Northeast arrow cascading effect of indirect taxes. If a government levies 10% indirect tax every time an item is sold, then buyer will have to pay tax on tax. This cascading effect of indirect taxes raises the price of final product. Observe, Table 1, raised hand, no TIM for UPSC. Prepare only for state tax officers jobs interview. Suppose price 10% tax on price total retailer bought from wholesaler 100 Indian rupees 10 Indian rupees 110 Indian rupees retailer sold to customer with 10 Indian rupees profit 120 Indian rupees 12 Indian rupees 132 Indian rupees break down the 132 Indian rupees paid by the final customer. 132 equals 100 plus 10 plus 10 plus 11 plus 1. 132 is equal to 100 price of original product plus 10 tax paid by retailer to wholesaler plus 10 as retailer's profit margin plus 11 tax paid by customer to buy from retailer plus 1 asterisk asterisk. 1 asterisk asterisk this 1 rupee is 10% of 10 tax paid by retailer to wholesaler. So, it's tax on tax paid at previous stage, cascading effect of tax on the end customer. Then, both buyer and seller will prefer to do transaction without bills to entirely avoid tax liability and its cascading effect gov, S revenue collection, fiscal deficit, black money. Batch, PCB7. This problem can be solved if gov gives some type of cashback, reward points or input tax credit, ITC, to the sellers on the indirect taxes they've already paid in previous stage. To claim such input tax credit, the sellers will have to show the bills invoices for each stage equals self-policing equals black money. 22.5 Indirect taxes, a timeline of reforms. Yahoo! Reform in indirect taxation. 1944 Union Central Excise Act to levy excise duty on goods produced and manufactured in India. Abolished on most items after GST. 1956 Union Central Sales Tax Act to levy tax on interstate commerce. In practice, CST was given to the source exporting state from where goods went to the destination importing state. Abolished after GST. 1962 Union Customs Act to levy customs duty on import and exports. Budget 2018 raised customs duty on a range of imported products, from fruit juice, perfumes, TVs, mobile phones, etc., to encourage Make in India program. Interim budget 2019 and full budget 2019. Black up arrow customs duty on gold and other precious metals to control current account deficit, more in Pill 3. Black up arrow customs duty on imported items like cashew and other food items, PVC, tiles, auto parts, CCTV camera, video recorders, electronics, imported books, etc., to encourage #Make in India. Black down arrow customs duty on import of raw material, intermediate goods required for Make in India, e.g. parts of electric vehicles, chemicals, etc., budget 2020. Black up arrow on imported footwear, furniture, wall fans, food grinder, oven, tricycle, scooter, earphones, etc. to protect Indian companies. Black down arrow imported raw material inputs used in manufacturing vehicles, mobiles, sports accessories, newspaper, etc. in India #Make I in India. 0% customs duty on import of defense equipment that are not being manufactured in India. Budget 2021. Black up pointing double triangle increased on imported raw silk ethanol leather auto parts, mobile phone parts, solar lamps, etc. to help domestic farmers and manufacturers. Black down pointing double triangle decreased on imported naphtha nylon, iron steel copper platinum etc. to help local manufacturers who use it as raw material. Black down pointing double triangle decreased customs duty on the items which are subjected to agriculture. Batch, PCB. Yahoo! Reform in indirect taxation. Infrastructure and Development CES, AIDC, to prevent additional burden on the customers. Budget 2022. Black down pointing double triangle customs duty on imported raw material e.g. rough unpolished diamonds. Black up pointing double triangle customs duty on finished imported items e.g. imported umbrellas PE 20%, headphones, earphones, loudspeakers, and imitation jewelry. Related concepts, inverted duty structure, countervailing duty, anti-dumping duty, row DTEP, MES etc. More in pillar #3A, import-export. 1986 Union Modified Value Added Tax System, MODVAT, based on LK-JAR Committee recommendations. Entrepreneur gets input credit for excise duty he already paid in previous stage e.g. rattan tata getting input credit for rubber, tires and steel he bought to make nano car. Limitation, he'll not get input credit for the state's indirect taxes like sale tax. 1994 Union, FM Manmohan Singh introduces 5% service tax on telephone bills, non-life insurance and stockbrokers. Over the years, more services were subjected to service tax. This service tax was not applicable on some services e.g. postal service, school fees etc. Successive govs also increased tax amount, 14%, and added Swak Bharat cess and Krishi Kalyan cess on it. Ultimately, service tax plus cess equals total 15%. Abolished after GST. 2004 Union Central Value Added Tax System, CENVAT. Entrepreneur gets input credit for excise duty and service tax he already paid in previous stage. But he'd not get input credit for the state taxes, like sale tax or VAT. 2005 states previously, state governments levied sales tax on sale of goods, however these rates varied from state to state, no input credit, and therefore problem of cascading effects, and tax evasion. From 2005 onwards, state governments begin replacing sales tax system with value added tax, VAT. Uttar Pradesh was the last state to implement it from 2008. In VAT regime, a dealer gets input credit for the VAT he already paid in the previous stage. But he'd not get input credit for union's indirect taxes like customs duty, excise duty or service tax. He'll not even get input credit for various other indirect taxes of the state like luxury tax, entertainment tax, etc., which were not subsumed in VAT. So cascading continued. Batch, PCB. Yahoo! Reform in indirect taxation. GST, 2017. Both from the 1st of July, 2017, Goods and Services Tax, GST, became effective. Here, supplier gets input tax credit for indirect taxes of union and states, CGST, SGST, that he paid in the previous stage. GST, a black question mark ornament MCQ UPSC pre-2014. The sales tax you pay while purchasing a toothpaste is A. Tax imposed by the central government. B. Tax imposed by the central government, but collected by the state government. C. Tax imposed by the state government, but collected by the central government. D. Tax imposed and collected by the state government. Black question mark ornament MCQ UPSC CDS 2013 high. Which of the following are direct tax in India? 1. Corporation tax. 2. Tax on income. 3. Wealth tax. 4. Customs duty. 5. Excise duty. ANS codes A 1, 2 and 3, B 1, 2, 4 and 5, C 2 and 3, D 1, 3, 4 and 5. 22.6 Indirect taxes GST. Timeline. 2004 VJ Kelkar Task Force on Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management, FRBM, recommends GST. GST, 2006 in Budget Speech, P. Chidambaram announces the launch of GST from 2010-2011 UPA government introduces 115th Amendment Bill 2011 to implement GST lapsed with the dissolution of 15th Lok Sabha. 2014-16 Modi government introduces 122nd Constitutional Amendment Bill 2014 in 16th Lok Sabha. Since GST aimed to change federal financial relations, so under Art. 368, this constitutional bill required at Union Parliament Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha each, underscore 50% majority of the total membership and 2/3 majority of all members present and voting. At State Vidhan Sabha, approval by majority of state assemblies, i.e. 15 Vidhan Sabhas of India at that time, ultimately, it passed and became 101st Constitutional Amendment Act, 2016, side note, other amendments acts. 102nd, 2018, Constitutional Status to National Commission for Backward Classes, NCTC. 103rd, 2019, 10% EWS reservation. 104th, 2020, Anglo-Indian reservation removed in LS and Vidhan Sabha, but SC the ST continued till January 25, 2030. 105th, 2021, to restore states' power to make their own OBC lists after SC judgment, OBC. 22.7, GST, 101st Constitutional Amendment ACT, 2016. 101, 2016 amended following articles in our Constitution. 246A states given power to tax goods and services. Previously, they couldn't tax services. But only union will have the power to tax interstate supply of goods and services in the form of IGST, 268. Previously, this article empowered union to levy service tax. But, since tax on services has been brought under GST, this article was deleted. 269 AIGST on interstate trade will be distributed between union and states, as per the formula by the GST Council. 270 CGST equals new indirect tax of union, which replaced excise duty and service tax. This CGST will be distributed between union and states as per the formula by the Finance Commission. CGST 279. A President of India to appoint a constitutional body, GST Council headed by Finance Minister. 366 alcoholic liquor for human consumption is kept out of GST, i.e. State Gov. Continue to levy state excise on its production and state VAT on its sale. 22.8 GST Council composition. Union representatives 2, states representatives 31 1. Finance Minister as the chairman 2. Union Minister of State for Finance or Revenue. Each state government, including UT with legislature, J&K, Delhi and Puducherry, can nominate one minister to GST Council. It may be the Minister of Finance or DY.CM or any other minister as per their wish. One of them will be selected as the vice chairman of GST Council. Voting power, 1/3 voting power, 2/3 if all members don't unanimously agree over a proposal. It'll be put for voting, then minimum 3/4 votes required to pass the proposal. Council meetings to proceed only with quorum of 50% of total membership. 22.8.1 GST Council functions. They'll decide following 1. List of indirect taxes, cess, surcharge of the union and states to be subsumed under GST regime. 2. Decide the date from which crude oil, petrol, diesel, aviation turbine fuel and natural gas will be put under GST regime. Until then, excise VAT on these 5 hydrocarbon fuel products will be unilaterally decided by union and individual states. GST 3. Decide standard rates for GST, i.e. CGST, SGST and UTGST. IGST equals the CGST plus SGST or UTGST depending on destination. Batch, PCB 7, Mrunal's economy pillar. 4. Decide special rates for GST during natural disaster calamity if required. A. E.g. 2019 January, GST Council also allowed Kerala to levy a 1% calamity cess on intrastate trade for next 2 years for the rehabilitation of 2018's flood victims. 5. Integrated GST, IGST, system during interstate commerce and its tax sharing. 6. Norms related to GST registration of businessmen. If a goods selling bizman has turnover above X lakhs, he must register at GSTN online portal. He must collect GST from consumers and deposit it there. Originally the X was 20 Indian rupees lakhs for ordinary states, 10 Indian rupees lakhs for SP.cat states and Telangana. However, in 2019 January the GST Council doubled this limit to 40L and 20L respectively. Within this, some technical relaxation given to merchants selling products on e-commerce website. Turnover limits for service seller bizmen in Manipur, Mizoram etc. separate, but hair splittery not REQ, not here for CA exam. 7. Protecting the interests of the special category states, i.e. 8 northeastern states and Himalayan states, Himachal and Uttarakhand, e.g. 2021 Sikkim proposed to levy COVID cess on pharmaceutical companies and electricity companies to collect money for Corona Wave 2.0. But GST Council's group of ministers, GOM, committee rejected COVID cess proposal. However, GOM committee recommended Union Gov to give 250 Indian rupees crore grant of compensation to Sikkim for fighting COVID Wave 2.0. 8. Compensation to the states for their revenue loss in switching from VAT to GST regime through cess mechanism. 9. Dispute settlement between union versus states, states versus states. So, constitutional amendment set up GST Council's meeting laws passed by Parliament and Vidhan Sabhas to implement the GST-related mechanisms. 1. Parliament has passed Central Goods and Services Tax Act (CGST), Integrated Goods and Services Tax Act (IGST), Union Territory Goods and Services Tax Act (UTGST), Finance Act 2020 amends UTGST Act to update list of UTs. I knew Ladakh without legislature. 2. Merged 1. Dadra and Nagar Havla plus 2. Daman and Diu equals treated as single UT because Gov merged them in 2019. Goods and Services Tax, Compensation to States, Amendment Act. Parliament originally passed them 2017, later amended in 2018, as per the recommendations of the GST Council. 2. State legislatures have passed State Goods and Services Tax Acts. SGST. 3. Star and Crescent Jammu and Kashmir passed SGST Act on the 8th of July, 2017, then GST system became effective there as well. Jammu and Kashmir Reorganisation ACT, 2019, has not abolished this SGST Act. Present status is, SGST applicable on J&K, UT with legislature, UTGST on Ladakh, UT without leggy. Star and Crescent stereotyping helps in faster revision. 2.8.2 Scales, GST Council decision, not binding on states. 2022 Supreme Court observed that GST Council's decisions are not binding on the states. This may create challenges in the future if non-BJP states do not comply with the GST Council decisions. GST 22.9 GST Input Tax Credit, ITC. GST is a destination-based indirect tax on consumption of goods and services. GST is applicable on supply of goods or services. Batch, PCB. Table 2, when goods or services produced and supplied. In same state, or UT without legislature, equals intrastate supply. In another state, or UT without LSR, equals interstate supply. Star and Crescent. 1. Union levies CGST 2. State levies SGST 3. UT without legislature levies UTGST. 1. Union levies IGST equals CGST plus SGST or UTGST depending on destination. 2. From this IGST CGST goes to Union, and the other portion goes to the Star and Crescent destination state UT without legislature. Table 3. Suppose in January 2021, a Gujarat-based calendar printing company is doing following bought, input, in 2021 January price CGST, SGST, Guj. IGST. If interstate supply printer from Mumbai at 18% GST, 1 lakh not applicable 18K ink from a factory in Guj at 18% GST, 10K 900 not applicable paper from Himachal at 12% GST, 20K not applicable 2400 total 1.30 lakh 920,400. Batch, PCB 7. Table 4. Suppose company manufactures, prints, and sells calendars at 100 each. At 12% GST sold output in 2021 January price CGST SGST Guj. IGST. If interstate supply 500 calendars within Gujarat 50K 3,000 not applicable 500 calendars to Rajasthan 50K not applicable 6,000 total 100K 3,000 6,000. So, how much tax will the calendar company have to deposit online at the GSTN web portal? GST liability in 2021 January CGST SGST Guj. IGST GST taxes collected on output from wholesalers, retailers or customers 3,000 6,000. Minus GST taxes paid on input in previous stage for raw material, intermediate goods, minus 900 minus 20,400. Equals company must deposit how much tax at GSTN web portal? 2,100 asterisk. This is the input tax credit, ITC, company can use for offsetting its tax liability in future. Suppose in February 2021, company did not purchase any inputs and sold 1,500 calendars in Tamil Nadu at 100 each equals 150,000 plus 18,000 IGST. It must have collected from the wholesalers, retailers, and customers of Tamil Nadu. But in February 2019, company need not deposit 18,000 Indian rupees at GSTN web portal because already it has 14,400 Indian rupees IGST credit, so company only needs to deposit 18,000 minus 14400 equals 3,600 Indian rupees. Cross-utilization of ITC. IGST credit can be used for payment of all GST taxes. CGST credit can be used only for paying CGST or IGST. SGST credit can be used only for paying SGST or IGST. If the goods or services are sold in Union Territory without legislature, then instead of SGST, they are practically the Union Gov will leave IUTGST, but the funder will remain similar as above. 2.9.1 left arrow with hook inverted duty structure problem in GST on textile. An inverted duty structure in GST arises when the taxes on output or final product is lower than the taxes on inputs, creating an inverse accumulation of input tax credit, then government has to refund the GST to the businessman. Equals administrative and accounting inconvenience for the government. Input raw material output final product implication fiber, 18% GST apparel shirt, pants etc. Equals 5% GST, trader will accumulate 13% GST credit. Gov will have to refund. After reform, GST Council imposed uniform 12% GST on man-made fiber, MMF, yarn, fabrics and apparels, footwear. However, after the protests from textile industry, this decision was postponed. 18.5% GST, 13% GST refund. 12%. 22.9.2 GST, exempt vs 0 rated. Batch. PCB 7, Mrunal's economy pillar hashtag. GST 0 rated, 0%. GST exempt nil rated non-GST, supply IF, gov letters 0% GST on the goods or services, and white heavy checkmark allows businessman to claim ITC. For example, 18% GST on laptop bought by Infosys company, input, 0% GST on export of software services, output. Here, Indian software company will accumulate, again 18% GST. Hashtag. IF gov letters 0% GST, and raised hand does not allow bizman to claim ITC. E.g. jaggery. So if bizman bought a machine for crushing sugarcane, he'll not get ITC, so then, to recover the cost plus tax on input, bizman may charge more selling price of jaggery on customer. These goods or services are not subjected to GST. They are subjected to other taxes. E.g. petrol, diesel etc. 5 hydrocarbon products equals excise and VAT. Alcohol for human consumption equals state excise and VAT. GST ITC given equals yes GST ITC given equals NO raised hand GST ITC given equals NO raised hand. In software export case, Infosys company gained ITC. So A, Gov will refund, and or B, Infosys can use this ITC for adjusting offsetting future sales within India. In both case A and B case, ultimately Gov will not be able to earn GST from Infosys, however government benefits from the increased exports jobs, GDP. Besides, more profit for Infosys in export equals more corporation tax for Gov. 2.9.3 Vaccine GST can't be 0% 0 rated or exempted because present situation airplane export of vaccine domestic sale of vaccine 0% GST, 0 rated, 5% GST. If vaccines domestic sales P 0% GST, 0 rated, equals businessman will accumulate large amount of ITC. Gov will have to refund. Equals less tax collection for Gov. If vaccines domestic sales P GST exempt nil rated equals businessman will not get any ITC on raw material the machines he'll black up pointing double triangle price of vaccine on patient. Similar to sugarcane machine jaggery case. GST. Moral outrage. Isn't there an inconsistency in logic? Will there not be inverted duty structure problem in vaccine MFG similar to textile? ANS. GST Council decides rates based on variety of factors like what are the tax rates on the inputs and how much GST losses for the government versus the benefit to the ordinary patients etc. If you get selected in IIS, they will teach it to you there. 22.10 Centers indirect taxes subsumed in CGST. Table 5. Indirect tax of union whether replaced by CGST. Anchor 4 import export. Basic customs duty. Cess a surcharge on it. No, customs duty is not replaced with GST. It's separate from GST regime. So, imported goods are subjected to customs duty plus IGST. Previously, imported goods were subject to customs duty plus education cess, but Budget 2018 replaced it with customs duty plus 10% social welfare surcharge. Budget 2020, 5% health CESS on imported medical devices, 4 hospitals construction in aspirational equals backward districts. Anchor on imports, special additional customs duty SAD, countervailing duty CVD, anti-dumping duty ADD. They are not replaced with CGST. More about them in pillar hashtag 3B, World Trade Organization. Central Sales Tax, CST. CST was the union tax levied on sale of items in interstate trade, and it was assigned to the origin state. It's replaced with IGST, equals CGST plus SGST. Batch, PCB. Indirect tax of union whether replaced by CGST. On providing services, service tax, and Krisha Kalyan cess and Swachh Bharat cess. Yes, completely replaced by CGST. These previous cess surcharge are deleted. GST. On manufacturing a production of goods, excise duty and various cess surcharges on it. Yes, completely replaced by CGST, except 5 hydrocarbon fuels, petrol, diesel, etc. Excise on manufacturing medicinal and toiletry preparations containing alcohol, e.g. cough syrups, deodorants and perfumes, also replaced by CGST. Alcoholic liquor for human consumption falls in state's purview, so union excise is CGST not applicable on it. Excise duty on tobacco products, it's replaced with 14% CGST. Further, union also levies plus GST compensation, cess plus national calamity contingency duty **NCCD on them. Because 101st constitutional amendment allows union to tax tobacco products separately. NCCD money goes to Public Account National Disaster Response Fund set up under Disaster Management Act, 2005. Fuel pump excise duty on production or refining of crude oil, petrol, motor spirit, diesel, aviation turbine fuel and natural gas. Once GST Council decides the date, they'll be brought under GST regime. Until then, refineries, oil drilling companies have to pay excise duty plus cess surcharges to union for production, manufacturing of these items. And petrol pump owner, etc. will have to pay VAT to states on their sale. Presently, petrol and diesel are also subjected to Union's Road and Infrastructure cess. It goes into Public Account Central Road and Infrastructure Fund under Central Road Fund Act 2000. Corporation tax, income tax, capital gains tax, etc. They're direct taxes of Union, so they are not replaced by GST. The GST is meant to replace indirect taxes only. Batch, PCB 22.10.1 GST revenue collection figures. GST registered suppliers have to deposit the GST at the GSTN portal on monthly basis, except those who opted for the GST composition scheme. In monthly collection of GST, there are ups and downs based on seasonality. Year month 2017 monthly average, 2018 monthly average, 2021 monthly average. GST collection 89700, County Route 98114, CR more than 1 lakh CR. Table 6, data from Approx, amount in crores. Table 7, up to budget estimate 2019. Corporation, GST, it fuel pump excise, anchor customs. STT, Securities Transaction Tax, Revised Estate 2019 GST, Corporation, IT Fuel Pump Excise, Anchor Customs, STT Budget 2020 GST, IT Corporation, Fuel Pump Excise, Anchor Customs, STT, Revised Estimates on the 1st of February, 2021, Budget 2021, BE, GST, IT Corporation, Fuel Pump Excise, Anchor Customs, STT, Budget Estimates. BE on the 1st of February, 2021, Budget 2021, RE, GST, Corporation, IT Fuel Pump Excise, Anchor Customs, STT, Revised Estimates. RE on the 1st of February, 2022, Budget 2022, BE, GST, Corporation, IT Fuel Pump Excise, Anchor Customs, STT. Batch, PCB 7, Mrunal's Economy Pillar hashtag 2A2, Budget Revenue Part Indirect Taxes, and GST page 353. 22.11, States Indirect Taxes subsumed in SGST. Table 8, Indirect Tax of State Gov, whether replaced by SGST. On sale of goods, State Value Added Tax, VAT, in some states called Commercial Tax. White heavy checkmark yes, by default VAT is replaced by SGST, but red below. Fuel pump state VAT on selling of crude oil, petrol, motor spirit, diesel, aviation turbine fuel and natural gas. Raised hand once GST Council decides the date, they'll be brought under GST regime. Until then, petrol pump owners, LPG gas distributors etc. will have to collect VAT, plus any cess surcharges, from the customers, and deposit to the state government. State excise on production of liquor for human consumption. State VAT on sale of liquor for human consumption. Raised hand no, they are completely kept out of GST. Unlike above fuel pump petrol items, where GST Council will implement it after X date. Since inception of our Constitution, the power to tax liquor was with states, and it constituted a major source of revenue for them, so states were unwilling to hand it over in GST regime. Had Modi Gov tried to bring liquor in GST regime, then majority of the Vidhan Sabhas may not have passed this constitutional amendment bill. Batch, PCB 7, Mrunal's Economy Pillar hashtag 2A2, Budget Revenue Part Indirect Taxes, and GST page 354. High voltage sign electricity duty raised hand no, it's not replaced by SGST. Road tax on vehicles. Raised hand no, it's not replaced by SGST. Its status as direct indirect tax is vague because in some states for vehicle categories, buyer himself deposits while in some cases, seller required to collect and deposit. Purchase tax on vehicle, boats, and animals white heavy checkmark yes replaced by SGST. Advertisement tax on hoarding, banners etc. white heavy checkmark yes replaced by SGST. Beach umbrella luxury tax at hotels, spas, resorts etc. white heavy checkmark yes replaced by SGST. Entry tax octroi for entry of goods in an area, white heavy checkmark yes replaced by SGST. Taxes on lottery, horse race betting, gambling etc. White heavy checkmark yes replaced by SGST. Since they are sinful or demerit goods, they are subjected to highest slab, 14% SGST plus 14% CGST equals 28% entertainment tax on cinema, live performance shows etc. White heavy checkmark yes. Replaced by SGST unless levied by a local body. E.g. Kerala local bodies 10% on movie tickets. Income tax on agriculture, professional tax, property tax, stamp duty, land revenue. Are by, they are direct taxes of state so not replaced by GST. The GST is meant to replace indirect taxes only. 22.12 GST rates on services equals 0%, which of following is 0 rated, and which one is NIL rated or exempt? ANS, poor cost, benefit. 1. Services provided by union government, state government, local bodies, constitutional bodies, Department of Post, except premium services like speed post, railways, except premium services like first class AC ticket. 2. Services by Reserve Bank of India and other financial regulators. 3. Services by banks for NBFCs in connection with government-sponsored banking, insurance and pension schemes. Refer to financial inclusion handout. 4. ESIC, EPFO services to the subscribers, group insurance schemes for paramilitary forces. 5. Religious, charitable activities, cooperative societies, public libraries, public toilets, crematorium, burial grounds. 6. Rent on residential accommodation. 7. Aviation services in northeastern states. 8. Transport services to milk, physical or paper-based, newspaper, defense equipment, relief material. During disasters etc. Batch, PCB. 7. Mrunal's economy pillar. 9. Doctors, paramedics, ambulance, blood bank. 10. Agriculture warehouse, cold storage, renting of agro-machinery, contractor who is supplying farm labourers, APMC, Agricultural Produce Market Committee. 11. Agriculture pre-processing of food e.g. ripening, waxing, retail packing, labelling of fruits and vegetables which do not change essential characteristics of the said fruits or vegetables. 12. Veterinary doctor, animal husbandry related services except racehorses. 13. Educational services by educational institutes, like schools, colleges, universities, vocational institutes. Not coaching institutes. 14. Entrance exam fee collected by union or state government orgs. 15. Private training partners in government skill development scheme. 16. Sports training and events by recognized sports body. 17. Sports, art, culture etc. clubs with member fees less than X rupees. 18. Circus, dance, drama or ballet, award function, concert, pageant, musical performance or any sporting event where admission fees is less than X rupees. 19. Admission to a museum, national park, wildlife sanctuary, tiger reserve, zoo, ASR recognized heritage sites. 2020 October decision. Satellite launch services supplied by ISRO, Antrix Corporation Limited and NSIL would be exempted. More about these organizations in More in Pillar #5, Communication Infrastructure. 21. Any service exported outside India, they are 0 rated export. In the pre-GST era, most of above services were having 0% service tax. 0%. 0%. If a given service is not in the above list, then it will be subjected to GST. See next table. Example of services, GST, if supplied in the same state, or UT, without LSR then. If supplied to another state, or UT, without LSR, smiley face, IGST. Plumbing, carpentering, ads in print media, ebooks union gets 2.5% CGST. State UT gets 2.5% SGST, or UTGST. IGST 5%, its bifurcation is same like left cell. Union gets half in CGST, and other half goes to destination, state UT, as SGST, a UTGST amount. Accommodation in hotels, inns, guest houses with daily charges up to 7,500 Indian rupees, only movie tickets up to Rs. X presently 100 Indian rupees, engineering related services. Similar as above, but 6 plus 6 IGST 12%. Batch, PCB 7. Coaching services, online information database access and retrieval such as e-book, e-newspaper, e-music, web series, OTT platforms, Amazon Prime, Hotstar etc. Ads in digital media, legal and accounting services, DTH, TV channels, movie tickets above Rs. X hotel rooms greater than 7,500 per day. Similar as above, but 9 plus 9 IGST 18%. Gambling, horse race club, casino similar as above, but 14 plus 14 IGST 28%. For more, you may refer to https://cbec.gov.in/gst-goods-services-rates.html. https://cbec.gst.gov.in/gst-goods-services-rates.html 2.1 GST rates on goods. 0% removed before 2022 from 2022 0% GST on cereals, wheat, rice etc., flour, atta, pulses, dal, curd, lassi, puffed rice, poha. 5% GST if they are white heavy checkmark pre-packed and white heavy checkmark labeled and white heavy checkmark packet size is smaller than 25 kilograms or 25 liters. 0% maps and banks checkbooks. 18% GST FAQ. Apart from above items, which other XYZ food item P above rule applicable or not? ANS, newspapers did not bother to highlight, but you can satisfy curiosity by doing self-PhD on this list. https://cbic-gst.gov.in/gst-goods-services-rates.html. https://cbic-gst.gov.in/gst-goods-services-rates.html 22.13 GST rates on goods. 0%. 0%, which of following is 0 rated, and which one is NIL rated exempt 0%. ANS, poor cost, benefit. 1. Fresh milk, pasteurized milk. 2. Live animals except racehorses, poultry, pigs, shrimps, fishes, insects etc. 3. Fresh, unbranded and not pre-packed animal products, eggs, meat, honey, raw silk etc. 4. Fresh, unbranded and not pre-packed flowers, leaves, fruits, vegetables, unroasted coffee beans and tea leaves, salt. 5. Bread, except when served in restaurant or pizza. 6. Prasadam supplied by religious places. 7. Deities made of stone, marble or wood, puja samagri like Rudraksha, Panchamrit. 8. Raki, kumkum, bindi, cinder, plastic or glass bangles without precious metal. Batch, PCB 7, Mrunal's economy pillar hashtag 2A2, budget revenue part indirect taxes, and GST page 357. 9. Human blood, contraceptives, sanitary napkins, tampoons, hearing aid 10. Tocilizumab, corona drug, amphotericin B, black fungus drug, from 2021 June 11. Electricity, firewood 12. Judicial and non-judicial stamp papers, court fee stamps, ordinary postcards, etc. 13. Printed books, physical edition of newspapers, journals, periodicals irrespective of whether they have advertisement or not. 14. Cardi sold by Cardi and Village Industries Commission, KVIC, certified outlets 15. Gandhi topi, chaka, national flag, earthen pot, clay idol 16. Agricultural hand tools like spade, axes, sickle. 17. When a constitutional or public authority auctions the gifts received by him. 18. Spacecraft, satellites and their launch vehicles. 19. Import of specified defense goods not manufactured in India 20. Free sample or gift given. E.g. offer, toothpaste PE toothbrush free, then only toothpaste. Subjected to GST. No GST on that free toothbrush. 21. Any goods exported outside India, technically called zero-rated export, if a given goods is not in the above 0% list, and not kept out the GST regime like petrol diesel daru, then it will be subjected to GST, such as example of goods, list not exhaustive, if supplied in the same state, or UT, without LSR, if supplied to another state, or UT, without LSR, smiley face, IGST. Semi-precious stones like agate, amber, topaz, lapis lazuli, etc. Union gets 0.125% CGST. State UT gets 0.125% SGST, or UTGST. IGST 0.25%, its bifurcation is same as left cell. But destination state UT gets the SGST, the UTGST portion. Diamonds cut and polished, this new slab created in 2022 July, 0.75 plus 0.75% IGST equals 1.5%. Jewelry, pearls, gold, platinum, silver, etc. Similar as above 1.5% plus 1.5% IGST 3%, fund the same as above. Milk powder, baby food, pizza bread, mineral ores, certain medicines, corona-related drugs or devices, vaccines, remdesivir, oxygen concentrator, ventilator, COVID testing kits, pulse oximeters, temperature check equipment, hand sanitizer, crematorium furnaces, ethanol meant for blending. 2.5% plus 2.5% IGST 5%. Batch, PCB 7, Mrunal's economy pillar hashtag 2. Example of goods, list not exhaustive, if supplied in the same state, or UT, without LSR, if supplied to another state, or UT, without LSR, smiley face, IGST. With petrol. Fruit jams, butter, cheese, can fish, sugar cubes, textile, certain medicines and surgical items, railway wagon, electric car, and its charges, ambulances, bricks. 6% plus 6% IGST 12%. Ice cream, cakes, biscuits, soap, perfume, paint, electronics, computer and mobile accessories, certain medicines, alcohol-based hand sanitizers, paint, polish, wax and similar petroleum products. 9% plus 9% IGST 18%. Luxury goods, sin goods, demerit goods, caffeinated beverages e.g. Red Bull tobacco products, pan masala cement, granite, marble air conditioners, TVs of X-size motor vehicles, aircrafts, yacht guns, lottery ticket. 14% plus 14% IGST 28%. Alcohol for human consumption outside GST regime. Subjected to state excise plus VAT. Fuel pump crude oil, petrol, motor spirit, diesel, aviation turbine fuel and natural gas. Until GST Council announces, union excise plus state VAT plus various cess surcharges. As of 2018 December, very few items left in the 28% slab. PM Modi has announced to bring 99% of the items in 18% or lower slab. Raised hand notes, do not lose sleep in following. Asterisk originally, state government run lottery equals 12% GST, and other private lotteries equals 28% GST. But from 2020 all types of lotteries equals 28%. While Kerala Gov opposed to this move fearing less. Batch, PCB 7, Mrunal's economy pillar hashtag 2A2, budget revenue part indirect taxes, and sales of state lottery, so GST Council had to go for voting majority voted in favour of 28%. This is the first matter since inception of GST Council, wherein voting had to be done. All previous decisions were taken unanimously without voting. As the elections come near, GST Council will bring down more items in lower GST slabs to keep the voters, or bizmen, happy, so above tables or lists are not static. E.g. from the 1st of April, 2019, norms will be changed for real estate property. Affordable houses 1% GST, without input tax credit, ITC, non-affordable housing, 5% without ITC, and commercial properties, 12% with ITC. 2019, to boost electric vehicle, GST Council blacked down pointing double triangle GST on e-vehicle and its charges to 5%. For more, you may refer to https://cbec-gst https://cbec-gst.gov.in/gst-goods-services-rates.html 22.13.1 indirect tax GST rate blackdown pointing double triangle on corona-related items. The 2021 June, GST Council usually meets every 3 months. But corona equals meetings not done regularly. E.g. 2020 October meeting next meeting in 2021 May, i.e. more than 7 months past. 2021 May, GST Council meeting outcomes. Reduce the penalties on merchants for late filing of GST documents. The data. GST formed a group of Minister, GOEM, headed by Meghalaya CM Conrad Sangma, to examine GST rates of COVID vaccine, drugs and related items. GST, 2021 June. GST Council decided following. Table 9. These GST rates valid up to the 30th of September, 2021, unless renewed further. Item N GST before after tocilizumab, corona drug, amphotericin B, black fungus drug, 5% nil 0% corona-related drugs or devices, remdesivir, oxygen concentrator, ventilator, COVID testing kits, pulse oximeters 12% 5% black down pointing double triangle. Temperature check equipment, hand sanitizer, crematorium furnaces 18% 5% black down pointing double triangle. Ambulances 28% 12% black down pointing double triangle. Vaccines 5% 5% black question mark ornament. MCQ. Consider the following items. Sad Smiley asked in UPSC pre-2018. 1. Cereal grains whole. 2. Chicken eggs cooked. 3. Fish processed. And can 4. Newspapers containing advertising material. Which of the above items is or are exempted under GST, a good and services tax? A. 1 only. B. 2 and 3 only. C. 1, 2 and 4 only. D. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Batch. PCB7. Mrunal's economy pillar. Hashtag 2A2. Budget revenue part. Indirect taxes. 22.14 Alarm clock. GST composition scheme. Alarm clock GST, regular, scheme GST composition scheme. If an industrialist or seller is registered with GST, he must collect the taxes at above varying rates and deposit them on the monthly basis at GST and web portal. GST. Such monthly compliance is very tedious for small entrepreneurs, small merchants, so they may opt for GST composition scheme wherein instead of above 5-12-18-28% rates they'll have to collect only flat rate GST of 1% on goods, 5% on restaurants, 6% on all services. Good, he will get input tax credit. Bad, he'll have to deposit tax and forms on monthly basis at GST and web portal. Bad, he'll not get input tax credit. Good, he'll not have to deposit tax or forms on monthly basis to GST and web portal. He'll have to do it on quarterly basis, 3-3-3-3 months, compulsory if turnover is above X lakhs crores. Optional scheme, not compulsory. Not every supplier is eligible. Only if turnover is below Y lakhs crores and doing Z type of biz, then you'll be eligible. Approx 1.12 crore taxpayers registered here, hardly 17 lakh taxpayers registered here. 22.14.1 Alarm clock GST mechanism, quarterly returns and monthly payment of tax, QIMP. Bizman will have to deposit the GST tax to government on a monthly basis, 1 to 1 month, but he may submit the GST forms on quarterly basis, 3 to 3 months, forms showing summary of incoming and outgoing supplies. Benefit. Black down pointing double triangle compliance burden. Bizman will have to spend less time filling monthly forms, have to pay less fees to the chartered accountant. Scheme applicable to small traders are taxpayers having turnover not more than X CR. Presently, X equals 5 crore Indian rupees, but the exact figure is not important. Sufficient to know that it is not available for everyone. The scheme is not compulsory. It is optional or voluntary. 22.14.2, raised hand, 1% GST, deposit in cash for controlling fake ITC claims. 1%. Batch, PCB7, Mrunal's Scamsters acquire Aadhaar card, PAN card Xerox of innocent victims, register multiple fake dummy companies in their name, generate fake invoices to show they purchase goods or services, input, price plus GST, then they show output, fake exports bills, because exports are subjected to 0% GST, thus they accumulate GST input tax credit, ITC, from Gov, thus gain money. Then they pull out this accumulated ITC money through other fake bills and refund forms. To control this nuisance, the Gov ordered bizmen to compulsorily deposit at least 1% of their GST liability in cash to the Gov if businessman's monthly sales is 50 Indian rupees lakh or more. Benefit. Fraudster will have to make a trip to the bank branch GST office to deposit the cash. It will generate CCTV footage, paper evidences, etc., which will help nabbing them. Raised hand how, why, what James Bond degree equals, they will teach you in the IIS Training Academy. We are not here to learn exact modus operandi. Hashtag hourglass with flowing sand. 22.15 left arrow with hook reverse charge mechanism. GST. Normally, a seller must collect the GST tax from buyer and deposit to the government. However, in selected cases when seller is not registered with GST number, while buyer is registered with GST number, then buyer will have to deposit the tax to government. How or when a Y equals not IMP, except the MCQ word association, that reverse charge mechanism is associated with GST, just like e-way bill mechanism is associated with GST. 22.16 e-way bill system, from 2018 onwards. Figure 1, check post when goods worth 50,000 are moved within a state, intrastate, or from one state to another, interstate, then the trucker, transporter, cargo, a shipping airplane company must generate e-way bill from GST and portal app SMS. E-way bill self-declaration, that our truck is carrying X type of goods worth Y value, reduces the scope of bribery, delay, red tape, harassment at the check post, thereby ensuring a hassle-free rapid movement for transporters throughout the country. E-way bill system became effective from 2018. Batch, PCB. Related, GST Council announced the e-invoice equals bill generation through Gov's online portal from January 2020 on pilot basis. Then e-way bill will not have to be generated separately. This will provide relief to businessmen, will improve the tax surveillance, and fight against false ITC credit claims through fake invoices. As such, e-invoice was to become compulsory from the 1st of April 2020. However, because of Corona, deadlines have been deferred. Deadlines keep changing, not IMP. 22.17 Compensation to states. Why? Recall definition. GST is a destination-based indirect tax on consumption of goods and services. For the Union Gov, largest source of tax collection were corporate tax and personal income tax. Both are direct taxes and therefore kept out of the GST regime. For the state governments, VAT was largest source of tax income, but it is to be subsumed under GST, along with other indirect taxes, cess and surcharges levied by the states. Therefore, states were afraid their revenue income will black down arrow. Secondly, GST is a destination-based tax, therefore industrialized states are not happy with it. Consider a nano car manufactured in Tatas plant in Gujarat and sold in Uttar Pradesh. Destination, UP gets SGST, while source, Gujarat gets nothing. Although reverse is also true. Up bicycle sold in Gujarat, then Gujarat will earn SGST and UP will get nothing. But the industrialized states such as Gujarat, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Haryana feared they'd get less SGST revenue in absolute terms compared to erstwhile VAT regime. Notable states that witnessed revenue blackout pointing double triangle in SGST in 2019 compared to VAT in 2019. Notable states that witnessed revenue blackdown pointing double triangle in SGST in 2019 compared to VAT: Andhra Pradesh and some any states: Mizoram, Manipur, Sikkim, Nagaland, Punjab, Himachal, Chhattisgarh, Uttarakhand, J&K, Odisha, Goa, Bihar, Gujarat and Delhi and others. 22.17.1 Compensation to states. How? Parliament enacted GST compensation to states Act 2017. Under its provisions, GST Council recommended Union Gov to impose GST compensation cess on specified luxury and demerit goods like pan masala 60%, tobacco products cess varies as per product, aerated water and caffeinated beverages 12%, coal or lignite 400 Indian rupees per ton, motor vehicles aircraft yacht 3 to 22% depending on type of vehicle. These rates may change, update, but don't worry about figures. For example, e.g. passenger vehicles originally 15% cess, but due to slowdown in automobile sector, GST Council reduced it to 1 to 3% depending on type of vehicle. The cess thus collected is used for compensating states for their revenue losses during the first 5 years since inception of GST, i.e. the 1st of July, 2017 to the 30th of June, 2022. Table 10, GST compensation to states Act 2017, Section 7. It contains formula for compensation. States projected revenue equals 14% annual compound growth rate than its 2015's VAT collection, base year. If current year SGST collection is less than projected revenue, union to pay compensation, 2015 14%. 5. Section 8. GST Council can recommend extending GST compensation cess beyond the period of 5 years. 5. Compensation available only for SGST. It is not given to the Union Territory without legislature because they view TGST e.g. Ladakh, state liquor taxes, are outside GST. So Bihar, Gujarat and Nagaland, Lakshadweep are parts of Manipur can't ask more for compensation from GST for having liquor prohibition. Year 2018 to 19 2019 to 20 2020 to 21 2021 to 22 2022 to 23 GST compensation cess. 95 kCr, 98 kCr, 1.10 lakh CR expected, but in reality hardly 85,000 CR earned. 1.05 lakh CR, 1.20 lakh CR. Controversy. Before Corona, since 2019 August onwards payment pending. Also known as GST arrears problems. 2019 December, only partial compensation released. FM Nirmala S says, sales are black down arrow, so we have not collected enough to release the cess. Non-BJP states first complained to GST Council, but it did not help much. So some state govs even threatened of going to Supreme Court, which hints cooperative federalism is in danger. During Corona, given below 22.18, GST compensation, and back-to-back loans. February 2020, when state govs had presented their budgets in their Vidhan Sabha, for next financial year they could only estimate the amount of SGST they'll earn between the 1st of April, 2020 to the 31st of March, 2021. So, states had estimated a large, decent collection in SGST for the 2020 to 21. Because, in February 2020, Corona yet to fully develop, so states were optimistic. Consequently, 97,000 crore Indian rupees SGST compensation estimated for 2020 to 21 before Corona impact. However, by August 2020, started to become more and more clear that the state is unlikely to batch, PCB7, Mrunal's economy pillar #2. Earn good amount in SGST. States lowered their estimates for SGST for 2020 to 21. So then states started demanding 2.35 Indian rupees lakh crore in GST compensation. Union Gov's initial reaction was, under the GST Compensation Act, we are not legally obliged to pay this large amount, 2.35 LCR, because of unexpected circumstances, act of God / force majeure like Corona. We can only pay the originally estimated amount, 97 KCR. However, the Attorney General opined that GST Compensation Act does not provide such exceptions. Union ought to pay the entire loss amount, 2.35 LCR. But, Corona sales black down pointing double triangle GST compensation, cess collection black down pointing double triangle. So, the Union offered two options to borrow money for the compensation. We will not study the difference between those TWO options, because it is technical, outdated. Just memorize that states accepted modified version of option number 1. Number 1. 22.18.1 GST compensation, back-to-back loans 1.10 Indian rupees LCR. 2020 October, Union Finance Ministry agreed to borrow 1.10 Indian rupees lakh from market. States are not borrowing from market. Union is borrowing from market to help the states. Union will give this borrowed as back-to-back loans to state governments. In other words, whatever Union government has borrowed at 5.19% from market, Union will loan it to states at 5.19%. Interest rate, 5.19% BCOZ. Union Gov's GSEC has less risk of default than state Gov's GSEC. So Union can get the loans relatively cheaper from investors. 5.19%. Batch, P. Alarm clock loan tenure, 3 to 5 years, repayment. This principal plus interest will be paid from GST compensation cess. 22.18.2 back-to-back loans, beneficiary states AUT with legislature list. Will not get. Some northeastern state don't have any SGST shortfall, so they will not get any compensation, back-to-back loans, as per Section 7 formula. will get remaining states and 3 UT, with legislature, who have opted for option number 1 they will get the money e.g. Andhra, Assam, Bihar, Goa, Gujarat, Haryana, Kerala etc. and Union Territories of Delhi, Jammu and Kashmir, Puducherry. 22.18.3 Scales GST back-to-back loans and fiscal deficit, FRBM, for states outdated faded topic. Deleting it. 22.18.4 Writing hand conclusion. GST compensation, coronavirus, has put unprecedented pressure on the revenue collection of the Union and states. Consequently, the Union is facing challenges in allocating money for welfare schemes to releasing the GST compensation to states. Hopefully, after vaccination, when the economy bounces back, this pressure should subside. 22.19 GST related organizations. We already learned about the GST Council in the previous pages of handout. Apart from that, 22.19.1 Group of Ministers, GOM. These committees are set up by GST Council to look into specific issues from time to time. Some examples of GOM headed by __ objective, or for illustration, 2019, Nitin Patel, DY.CM of good real estate sectors issues under the GST 2019, Sushil Modi, DY.CM of Bihar identify the factors responsible for revenue shortfall in SGST faced by several states, and how to solve it. 2018, Sushil Modi, DY.CM of Bihar modalities for revenue mobilization in case of natural calamities and disasters. 2021, Conrad Sangma, Meghalaya CM Sangma to examine GST rates of COVID vaccine, drugs and related items. Batch, PCB7, Mrunal's economy pillar. 2.19.2 Distribution of admin, responsibilities table 11, raised hand don't lose sleep over it unless preparing for state tax officers exams in excise VAT regime in GST regime Union Central Board of Excise and Customs CBEC. Officials looked after the indirect taxes of the Union, they recruited by UPSC and SSC. Budget 2018, CBEC renamed into Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs CBIC. 4 Taxpayers with turnover below 1.5 Indian rupees crores, their supervision, administrative workload divided between Union and state officials in 10 hours 90 minutes ratio. If turnover 1.5 Indian rupees CR are then 50:50. State department officials would look after the indirect taxes of the state, recruited by the respective, corrupt, non-corrupt, state PSC. 22.19.3 Scales National Anti-Profiteering Authority, NAA and NAPA, GST provides input credit for most of the indirect taxes of the Union and state gov. So, entrepreneurs' cost of production should black down arrow, then he should also black down arrow prices for consumers, yet many companies had not reduced their prices e.g. Domino's Pizza, Nestle, Hindustan Unilever toothpaste and detergents etc. So, Union Gov set up NAA under Central Goods and Services Tax Act, 2017. Depending on the case, NAA can order the culprit company to 1. Reduce prices 2. Refund money with interest to consumers 3. Deposit money to consumer welfare funds at Union and state level 4. Impose penalty up to 10% of profiteered AMT 5. Cancel registration. Appeal High Court. This authority shall cease to exist after 2 years from its inception, 2017, unless GST Council renews it, GST. 2019 June, GST Council extended it for another 2 years, which means all crooked companies have not yet stopped profiteering. 22.19.4 Authority for Advance Ruling, diabetic food supplements, are subjected to 12% GST, whereas pasteurized milk is subject to 0% GST. If Amul plans to launch Amul camel milk with bottle label, camel milk is easy to digest, high in an insulin-like protein, hence beneficial for diabetic person. So, whether Amul's product be subjected to 0% GST or 12% GST? An entrepreneur would like to such have clarification from tax authorities before starting the production, lest he gets tangled in raids and litigations afterwards. So, CGST Act, 2017 provides for a statutory body called Authority for Advance Ruling, AAR, where entrepreneur can seek such advance clarification. Asterisk 2018 May, GST Council approved acquisition of entire 51% equity held by non-governmental institutions and distributed equally between centre and the state governments. This company runs the GSTN online portal, where the suppliers register themselves, pay their GST, claim input tax credits, generate e-way bills etc. Infosys Limited helped develop the web portal. GSTN Network Limited also provides the IT infrastructure and software services to GST officials for monitoring the tax compliance, issuing notices, data mining etc. In future, such data could also be shared with the RBI's Public Credit Registry, PCR, so the lenders can have a complete picture of the borrower's business. GST Suvidor providers, GSBs. These are selected private IT, fintech companies that develop apps or software to help the taxpayers interact with GSTN portal. E.g. Zoho accounting software. 22.19.6 Project Saksham, Digital ICT Integration, a 2016 Union Indirect Tax CBEC, a CBIC's web portal issue after GST. Service tax and excise duty. ACES, automation of central excise and service tax subsumed excise applied only on selected items. Customs duty Swift, single window interface for facilitating trade. Customs duty not subsumed in GST. These portals are softwares and digital processes had to be re-engineered to align with the GSTN portal. So, 2016, CBEC, a CBIC launched Project Saksham for digital ICT re-engineering a web portals integration. Separately, 2018, Indian Railways also launched Project Saksham, but with different objective of employees' training and skill upgradation for doing railway-related work. Batch, PCB7, Mrunal's economy pillar CBIC has Antarang portal for internal communication among CBIC officers. CBIC also launched portals such as ECTS, Electronic Cargo Tracking System, 2, Risk Management System, IMS, 3, Indian Customs Compliance Information Portal for CIP, etc. What is their objective? How do they work? ANS, not important. 22.19.7 HSN and SAC codes. Service Accounting Code, SAC, are used for classifying services for GST rates. E.g. coaching services equals SAC code 999293 equals 18% GST. Harmonized System of Nomenclature, HSN, developed by the World Customs Organization, WCO, is used for classifying goods for GST rates. E.g. Jada Center Tobacco equals HAC code 240399930 equals 28% GST. Benefit? HSN SAC coding helps in computerized accounting, billing, digitization, surveillance and big data analytics by tax authorities. 2020, government threatened that if an imported good doesn't contain HSN code, then will impose higher level of taxes on it. Benefit? Traders will quote HSN number better. Surveillance or data mining. But low profile topic. Raised hand don't lose sleep. Hashtag. 22.20 Pan Stistins Adha. Table 12. Raised hand don't lose too much sleep over it unless preparing for state tax debt exams. Difference Pan, GSTIN, full form permanent account number issued by the Income Tax Department. Goods and Services Tax Identification Number issued by the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs, CBIC, example Sutherland Energy Limited, AADCS 0472 and Sutherland Energy Limited, 24 AADCS 0472 and 1Z8 format 10-digit alphanumeric number, equals containing both alphabets and numbers. 2-digit state code plus 10 digits PAN number plus 3 characters equals total 15 characters, equals containing both alphabets and numbers, who has to get it? Every income tax assessee individual, HUF, firm, company, trust, internal different not imp. IF individuals or firms registered under the pre-GST law, i.e., excise, VAT, service tax etc. OR. IF your biz. Turnover is above a threshold limit of X lakhs for ordinary states, or Y lakhs in SP.cat. States. OR. Difference Pan, GSTIN. Merchants who sell through e-commerce aggregators like Amazon. Do all taxpayers have it? Every PAN card holder is not required to have GSTIN. E.g. a salaried employee. Every GSTIN holder is required to have PAN card number. Because its format is like that, observe format, row above. How many numbers of cards can one have? Only one PAN number allowed per individual. Only one PAN number allowed per company. Subsidiary firms will have to get separate PAN numbers. If firm operates from more than one state, then a separate GST registration is required for each state. If a firm has multiple subsidiaries, they have to get GST number for each, e.g. Faith Hospitality Chain Limited, Sam's Pizza Restaurant, Songkalp Dosa Restaurant, Saffron Punjabi Restaurant. Objective: prevent evasion of direct taxes. Prevent evasion of GST, and help the entrepreneurs claim their input credits. PAN number is required for various activities like opening of bank account, opening of demat accounts, for trading in securities, obtaining registration for GST, VAT excise registration, for petrol liquor dealers, etc. So, PAN is slowly becoming a common business identification number, CBIN, or simply business identification number, BIN, because if a department knows your PAN number, they can dig all information about you, know whether you're eligible to fill up a particular tender, or contract, or scheme application form or not. 22.20.1 PAN, GSTIN versus UID, equals Aadhaar card, Table 13. Raised hand don't lose too much sleep over it unless preparing for state tax debt exams. PAN and GSTIN UID, equals Aadhaar card, issued by the direct and indirect tax authorities that function under Ministry of Finance. Issued by a statutory body, Unique Identification Authority of India, UIDAI, that functions under Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, MITY. These tax authorities derive powers from Income Tax Act 1961, Goods and Service Tax Acts in 2017, Aadhaar Targeted Delivery of Financial and Other Subsidies, Benefits and Services, Act, 2016. Primary objective of these ID numbers is to reduce tax evasion by tracking the transactions. Primary objective is to eliminate bogus beneficiaries in government schemes and reduce subsidy leakage. Auxiliary benefits, identifying dead bodies, tracking criminals, mobile number ownership, tax evasion, etc. Batch, PC. PAN and GSTIN UID, equals Aadhaar card, their format contains both numbers and alphabets. Unique Identification Number, UID, or Aadhaar is a 12-digit number. No alphabets. Issued for individual humans, HUF of firms or companies or trusts ***. Only for living resident humans of India. Not given for companies. Resident is defined as person who lived in India for 182 days in last 12 months. Full budget 2019, we'll consider giving immediate Aadhaar card to NRIs with Indian passport so they don't have to wait till 180 days. It'll help them get through KYC bank, a share market transaction. One human, one PAN number only. No age limit. Minors can also join. Same. 110 fees to get PAN card. No fees to get GSTIN, no fees to get Aadhaar. Compulsory to enroll if your income or turnover is beyond X rupees ***. Voluntary to enroll. They contain name, photograph and date of birth in case of human address. Demographic info. Name, date of birth, gender, address. Mobile and email, optional, biometric info, 10 fingerprints, 2 iris scans, and facial photograph. Budget 2019, greater than 120 crore Indians have Aadhaar card, but all Indian don't have PAN card. Earlier, it was compulsory to give PAN no when filling income tax. But if you don't have PAN, you can simply quote your Aadhaar number to file income tax returns. Later, IT department clarified that whoever quotes Aadhaar number because he doesn't have PAN card will issue him PAN card on suo moto basis later on. Budget 2020 added technical reforms in this process. 22.21 GST benefits. GST covers both goods and services, with standard rates, minimal number of cess surcharges. GST online portal and e-way bill system reduces the interface between tax officials and the assessors, thereby reducing the scope of harassment, bribery, and inspector raj. Equals ease of doing business. Batch, piece. GST provides input credits to suppliers, thereby incentivizing them to sell with invoice at every stage. Thus, GST will expand our tax collection and deter tax evasion. GST input credit system black down arrow the cascading effect of taxes, cost of manufacturing and selling, while its anti-profiteering authority ensures that such benefits are passed on to the customers in the form of reduced MRP. Federal nations such as Canada and Australia shifted from VAT to GST regime. It helped boosting their revenue, GDP, and exports. Thus, GST will help to create a unified common national market for India and catalyze Make in India and assemble in India, more in pillar #4B, before GST, GST. After GST, a car company would aim for in-house production of all necessary intermediate goods and accessories, e.g. tires, windshield, Casteria player, because if they buy those raw intermediate goods from outside, they'll have to pay a variety of taxes, assessor surcharges on which input credit may not be available. GST provides input credits in more efficient and comprehensive manner. Therefore, instead of trying to become jack of all trades, company will pursue ancillarization, subcontracting, and outsourcing to procure from MSME industry and freelance professionals. Equals more jobs. State government charged VAT on sale of goods, but VAT rates were not uniform throughout India. A laptop bag might attract 12% VAT in one state and 18% VAT in another. This provided scope for rate arbitrage, i.e. buying from another state for profiteering, even if same item available in home state. Then state gov will have to deploy more officials at the checkposts, leading to bribery, harassment, inspector raj. SGST, UTGST rates are uniform throughout India, so there is no scope of rate arbitrage. Whether you buy a laptop from Chennai or Mumbai, the GST percent tax rate will be same. Suppose a mobile is manufactured at 10,000 Indian rupees only and is subject to 9% excise duty and 9% VAT. Then 9% union excise duty equals 900. Calculated on base of 10,000. 9% state VAT equals 981, calculated on base of 10,900 after including excise duty. Both CGST and SGST are computed on the same base, 10,000 Indian rupees, therefore tax burden on final consumer is less in GST regime than in excise VAT regime. Thus, GST will reduce impact of tax on end customer, so his purchasing power will improve, leading to more demand, more sales, more business expansion, and GDP growth and jobs. Batch, piece 22.21.1, Anchor GST benefit, zero rated exports. When company buys raw material or intermediate goods, it will have to pay GST. But if final product is exported outside India or sent to special economic zone (SEZ) in India, more in pill #3, it'll be subjected to 0% IGST. So, whatever GST the company had paid on the inputs, all of it will become its input tax credit, and company can use this ITC to pay for the taxes on the purchase of raw material and intermediate goods in the next time, thus reducing its cost of production. This will improve price competitiveness of Indian products in foreign markets. Australia and other GST countries also follow similar zero-rated export regime. Black question mark ornament MCQ. What are the most likely advantages of implementing GST? Asked in UPSC pre-2017. 1. It will replace multiple taxes collected by multiple authorities, thus create a single market in India. 2. It will drastically reduce current account deficit of India and will enable it to increase its foreign exchange reserves. 3. It will enormously increase the growth and size of Indian economy of India and will enable it to overtake China in the near future. Codes A, 1 only, B, 2 and 3 only, C, 1 and 3 only, D, 1, 2 and 3. 22.22 GST, challenges for mains and interview. 22.22.1 high rates and multiple slabs. If union and states abolished existing indirect taxes, excise, custom and VAT, then their revenue income will obviously decline. Therefore, GST rate need to be high enough to sustain any fall in revenue collection. Such ideal rate of GST is called revenue neutral rate, RNR. In Singapore GST only 7%, Australia GST only 10%. Whereas in India we have 4 slabs, 5-12-18-28% slabs. Raised hand ignore hair splitty, a pedantry, over diamond etc. KE 0.125% CGST wall slabs. Official CBIC brochure says 4 slabs, so remember 4, many daily necessities, are in 18% GST slab. Indirect taxes regressive in nature and harm purchasing power of poor. Petrol, diesel, electricity, not subjected to GST regime yet, so businessmen cannot claim GST input credit on them. Even when crude oil prices are black down arrow in the international market, the union and state governments black up pointing double triangle union excise and state VAT on the petroleum fuels just to earn more revenue, which further aggravates the inflation and business cost. Batch, PCB 7. 22.22.2 frequent changes harming long-term business planning. Frequent changes in GST rates makes it difficult for the companies to plan long-term business strategies. E.g. in 2019 September, GST on caffeinated beverages black up arrow from 18% to 28%. This will black down arrow sales. If any soft drinks company had invested in factory expansion, it would suffer. 15th Finance Commission Chairman in case in criticized frequent changes in GST rates. 22.22.3 fall in collection, corona pandemic, protectionism by USA, EU and China equals they're imposing more duties on Indian exports. Indian exports become expensive for foreigners. Sales black down arrow manufacturing and service sector production decline. GST black down arrow more in pillar #3, automobiles, consumer durables, TV, fridge etc. Real estate black down arrow due to variety of reasons. Unscrupulous traders set up phony shell companies and generate fake invoices to claim input tax credit through circular trading. How it works equals modus operandi not IMP. As a result, states are complaining that GST compensation cess amount is not released in a timely fashion by the union government. State-funded welfare schemes suffer. 22.22.4 Inconvenience to small traders in GST and web portal. The traders have to deposit the GST on monthly basis, upload various forms and invoice details, generate e-way bills. While Gov has tried to keep these online forms and mechanisms as simple as possible, but since many small traders are not proficient with computer, Excel or accounting software, internet, digital payments, GST compliance creates inconvenience to them and forces them to hire full-time accountants, black pointing double triangle cost of operations. Counter, even in erstwhile VAT system, they had to upload similar things online, so it's not entirely new or alien system imposed upon them. Besides, they can opt for the GST composition scheme, where they have to upload things on quarterly basis instead of monthly basis. GSTN portal also provides free accounting software to small traders, so they don't have to spend in buying proprietary software like Tally. GSTN server crashes often, so traders can't upload things on time, and then they have to pay penalty for crossing monthly deadlines. Counter, GST Council has reduced the late fees. GSTN portal has been given technical upgrades to reduce the glitches outages. Malaysia scrapped GST in 2018 due to popular uproar against it, so it will not be successful in India either. GST 22.23 Writing hand GST conclusion template. If asked to examine critically the challenges or obstacles in GST, any new change is accompanied by difficulties and problems at first. A tax reform as comprehensive as GST is bound to pose certain challenges not only for the government, but also for business community, tax authorities, and even common. But ultimately, write any of below benefits. 1. With the aforementioned features of benefits, GST will help India progress towards one nation, one tax, one market. Or 2. Indeed, the introduction of GST is truly a game changer for Indian economy as it has replaced multi-layered, complex indirect tax structure with a simple, transparent and technology-driven tax regime. Or 3. Thus, GST eliminates cascading of taxes, black down pointing double triangle operational costs, thereby black up pointing double triangle ease of doing business, and catalyzing Indian economy. If 1. Asked in GSM 3-2018, comment on the important changes introduced in respect of the long-term capital gains tax, LCGT, and dividend distribution tax, DDT, in the union budget for 2018. 2018. Raised hand note, we need not prepare answer since D 2 year span, Q given is only for observation. 2. Asked in GSM 2-2017, explain the salient features of the Constitution, 101st Amendment, Act 2016. Do you think it is efficacious enough to remove cascading effect of taxes and provide for common national market for goods and services? 2016. 3. Asked in GSM 3-2019, enumerate the indirect taxes which have been subsumed in the goods and services tax, GST, in India. Also, comment on the revenue implications of the GST introduced in India since July 2017. 4. Asked in GSM 3-2020, explain the rationale behind the goods and services tax, compensation to states, Act of 2017. How has COVID-19 impacted the GST compensation fund and created new federal tensions? 2017, 19. 5. Examine critically the apprehensions surrounding the GST compensation to the states. What measures have been taken by the union government in this regard? Batch, PCB 7, Mrunal's economy.